Hello, everybody. Whoa. So I'm streaming, but I'm not seeing. Oh, now I think I'm live. Okay. Hi, Katia. Welcome. It's so nice to have my software working, and it turned out to be an easy fix. So I just had to go into my task manager and close some things that were running in the background. It's a problem I haven't had before. Whoops, I think I just popped down my window. I hope you had a wonderful holiday, or holidays, I should say. I think this year's going to be really fun for our design classes. Oh, and thanks for the message this afternoon. Yeah, I did forget to turn off the live screening. I wasn't even sure it was live because I didn't think I could get on. I was surprised. A lot of updates this week. You mean in the classes or in your life? Hi, Sharon. Oh, I'm glad you're excited to learn more about Inkscape. So you have worked in it before. My lighting is kind of bad. I'm all kind of washed out today because of. Hi, Kaylin. Yes, I am. I'm glad it's all worked out too. I was just saying, my light. I'm in my living area tonight instead of my art and craft room where my table is totally full at the moment. So the lighting out here is pretty bright. I should say Happy New Year, everybody. Yeah, I did notice, Katia, that like in the software, even here in the OBS software, they've updated things and YouTube has, and but my problem was having redone my computer over the break. I had to go in and readjust the space that I have had on my drives to get more in my C drive. So and I ended up taking all my program, not my programs off, but I took all my software update. Yeah, Inkscape. Now I lost my train of thought. Uh-oh. Oh, my computer. So anyway, when I went to open up OBS today, which is the streaming software, um, it wouldn't open. And so I thought, no, must be I need to download it again. So I tried to download it, but it wouldn't download because it kept telling me it was on my computer already. But I had already gone into my programs and tried to delete it out of my program so I could reinstall it. And then it told me that it couldn't, uh, well, not delete it, uninstall it because it couldn't find it. And it was the craziest thing. But I also use Adobe programs, and they have a Creative Cloud. And I found out that there were about 6 different background applications running. And I closed those up, and um, then I was able to get OBS downloaded again. So it's been kind of crazy. But hopefully, that's all the problems I'm going to be having. So, anybody worked on anything, tatted anything recently, or worked on any designs? I know I've only done a little bit of some diagramming, um, just for fun, playing around with heart designs. And I think I have one sitting right. I don't have a down shot today because I'm not in my art room, which is where I have my down shot camera. I'll show you some of my, I don't know if you can see them good in this light. Well, I guess you can. Just a couple heart designs. Although, seems like Valentine's will be here so soon, and it may be time to start thinking about spring and summer, maybe Easter to get designs done. Christmas, yeah, Christmas and finishing Christmas and birthday presents. I was so disappointed this afternoon. I'm so ready to start the design classes again, and it was so disappointing not to be able to get online with my software, the streaming software. Sharon, do you have the newest version of Inkscape downloaded, or is yours an older version? Seems like you were here in classes recently, I think. Oh, it's just time to begin, but as usual, we'll wait a little bit because people tend to come in here a little later. So we'll just give them maybe not quite 5 minutes. I've been working on a sheet for you that I hope to have done by next week. I'll show you what I'm doing. How many of you have started one of the index card little binders or file? Um, like Tammy has shown us. Because what I'm doing is I'm working on a sheet. Well, I guess I might as well show you. Seeing how it is 6 o'clock, we can't always wait for everybody. So let me switch to my screen. Get my Word document up here. And I'll have to get this window out of the way, my OBS. What I'm working on is the shortcutter hotkeys for working in Inkscape. Hi, Janella. I'm so glad you made it. This is, I'm putting it, these are rectangles, are 4x6 size. And, oh, it looks like I have an error right there that I didn't fix. I'll take that D out of there. I close files here. I've got the common keys that you use along with CTRL is the control key. I'm still trying to read the one or two examples only. Yeah, that's kind of the way mine still is, Kaylin. Um, so on this sheet, these are your common ones that work in most all programs, even Word. Your cut, copy, and paste, and undo. I didn't put redo back there on there, which is Control Y. I'll have to add that to make a list. And I am always open to suggestions for any of my handouts or, there's my pen, any of my handouts or anything. I'm always open to suggestions to make them better or change them a little or whatever. So this is going to be one of them. And I've made it this 4x6 size so they can be, you can just print them out on copy paper and then stick them in on a 4x6 card to keep in your little binder. So you always have the shortcut keys close by. On this side are the Inkscape particular ones mostly. Zoom and zoom out are different than common where you use the control key. All you do is hit the plus or minus sign to zoom in or zoom out. You don't need the control key. Duplicate, remember duplicate in our program makes a duplicate right on top of the original one. And that's why we like that one. If you put Alt-D, that's when you get the clone. I don't think we have anybody brand new in the group. So I'll just not explain everything in detail. And the clone, remember, is where you make one and then you can paste copies of it and you can go back to the original one and change it, the size or anything. I should say transform it is the right term to use. And it changes all of them. So they can all be resized or reshaped just by changing that original one, which is really nice. Group, Control G, we use that all the time. Ungroup, Shift Control G, and object to path. And then here I'm going to, this one isn't done yet. I just started. It's a copy of this. Is it a copy of that one? Yeah, it's a copy of this one that I'm going to add the tools to. And for the tools, you don't need any key with it. You just need to press the letters. And as I'm doing things, I'll say what it is. Like the node tool, all you have to do is when you're in Inkscape, all you have to do is push, hit the N key, and it switches you to the node tool. The S key switches you to the selection tool. Um, so that's really, really handy. And I think it's V that switches you to the, no, I can't remember. So that's what I'm doing. So you'll have all these. And here are the palettes. Most of the palettes or panels open holding the shift and control key at the same time, and then hitting L to pull up your layers panel, F for fill and stroke. I don't think we looked at the history much last time. The history panel is a wonderful one to use. Text and font T, align and distribute A. Oops, that's Post program is from before, from my copy and paste. So this is what I'll be working on and have ready for you next week. I really didn't work on anything over the holiday. I just took total time off to work on the last load of my everything I own out of storage. Got the last load in here, and I've been sorting through that, plus getting Christmas out and almost put back in. So this is a document I'll be working on. What you see here is what we're going to talk about today. Here's the Inkscape, my Inkscape screen. Uh, um, this time I am not going to, I'll switch back to my face. This time I'm going to try and not do anything in the 6 weeks at a time and 2 weeks off like before. I'm just going to keep going, and hopefully I won't have any problems doing that. Occasionally I get to a point where it's like I need to take a week off, but we'll have spring break coming up and all, so I'm going to just continue on. I don't know how much review I'm going to do because everybody here has been to class before. Sharon, I can't remember though if you were coming to the most recent classes or if you've used Inkscape a long time ago. And I'm sorry about that I don't remember. You can see up here in the corner, I still have that's a light fixture that I have some evergreen on, and then some balls hanging down. It's one of the few things that's still left. So tonight, are there any questions? I'd like to find out what your thoughts are as to anything you'd like to try in Inkscape that you know can be done, but you don't know how to do it. I am going to review doing a polar grid, and we'll review other things too. So if there's anything you want to review or you want to try, as far as working on a project, our first one is going to be what I'm going to do is always before in the regular design class, I have asked people to make samples like different size rings and label them and all. And I thought nobody really seems to want to do that. And what would be better to use to figure out the number of stitches out of a certain thread size to actually use all your samples? Like these are all my samples that I decided to, and they're kind of crooked here. Let me see if I can straighten them up here by double clicking, get my transform bars there. And I have started just one. I'm gonna hit Z. The Z key is for the zoom tool. The only time using just a keyboard key to get to a tool is that usually when you, and this is in other programs too, even uh, Illustrator was, I haven't worked in it lately to know, but you can't usually get from the text tool to another tool just by clicking, like say on the N, or there I got the N, I got the node tool, and S is the selection tool. You can see I've got a ring made. And what I'm going to do is diagram some parts of this. Well, I probably will diagram all of it because all of these need to be diagrammed at some point. And I'm going to go over again about just making a plain teardrop shaped ring. As you can see here, this basically fits on these here. I haven't counted them yet, but I think the ones here are also the same. Oops. Same size. So I'm going to take this piece, put it in the tiny little baggie, and that it will be adhered to the index card. And then I'm going to write the number of stitches that are in it for the piece. I am also, though, going to take this, once I have it counted, and I know this is a size 20 thread, I actually scanned these. And I do know that they are scanned to the actual size. I mean, because when you scan, it does come in. And when you're looking at it on here, remember you can go to, let me see, I don't want to see anything behind on this side so you don't get confused about where the program is. This little arrow down in the lower right-hand side, if I click on that, it opens me up to Zoom center page, duplicate, clone, unlink. But at the bottom, it's got your preferences and it's got your document properties. And I'm going to go to document properties because it automatically comes up when you open a when you open a file. It comes up to pixels, and I am an inch person when it comes to measuring things like the size of a motif or seeing something in 1-to-1 scale. So I have changed both of these, the display units and the front page. I've changed them to inches. Now I can close that. And now you see I have my inches up here. But my inch goes, let's see, here's 1 and here's 2. But if I want to go to the actual size zoom in 1-to-1, I'm going to go to view up here, zoom, and then the third one down says 1-to-1. Now that actually is set to a real ruler size. So what I'm And what I'm going to do is then take this one and start a new file. And as I go, I'll be having rings of different size counts. And then I'm going to put them in this May, and it's going to be a design template file. So I'll have a row of these lined up that are done out of size 20 thread. And right below them, I'm going to put, how many uh, double stitches are in the ring. So then I don't have to, I can just compare then when I'm tatting, I can just tat to this size. Oh, yours is an older one, Sharon? Yeah, yeah. And even this desktop, you'll notice the dark instead of everything being white. That's a new style desktop if you haven't had this one before. And that is in, let's open up, there are shortcut keys, but for these, I just used the little arrow down in the bottom right. Go to preferences. Okay, here are our preferences. And in here are all our tools that we can fix up. And our interface, I think interface is the one we want for um, the zoom correction factor. Now it's set to millimeters. I'm going to change it to inches for myself. And you can see if I hold a real ruler up to this, because this is exactly what is on there. And when I'm zooming into one-to-one view, I get the actual size. So this is where you can change that if you don't work in millimeters. And then there's the interface also. Whoops. Let's see. Theming under, if you do drop down the menu, theming here, I've got the high contrast, but and I think this one, the word name Adwada, is also now that's the white one. So that goes back to what I used to have, and even just choosing it here, like it's right to me, it's just too bright right in my face. Um, and designers have always really usually prefer a dark screen. Not everybody. Personal preference, though. I'm going to go back to high contrast. I like that. And down here are your tools. Um, use default base color for icons, and this is the default base colors. And there are different ways you can set up your your keyboard and all of that. So one of the things to do, like Sharon, if you run across some things that are new to you, just ask a question about them and we'll talk about them. I'm going to go back to theming. And did I just, is high contrast what I had? Seems, oh, dark theme, right here, dark theme. That's what I like, is the dark theme. And I'm going to click on that. And that should take me back. Let's see. Am I not? I haven't changed. Let's try again. Maybe it's a different theme. Oh, there's the one, the Midwadi Inkscape. So there we go. That's the way I was originally set up. And since you asked me, one of the things I wanted to mention tonight is about scanning. This kind of looks upside down actually for me. I'm going to zoom out using the minus key. Flip it right around. Oops. Can you see how it's acting quirky? If it's doing something like that, I hold down the control key. That can help you align it. Another thing is, if I'm going to widen this, look how it's stretching everything. I'm going to do Control Z to undo it. But if I, whoops, I meant to hit the zoom in key. But if I hold for the width, if I hold down the control key, see now I'm making it wider. No, it's not making it wider. Oh, crap. Why is it when I get on here, I start to, but this stretches it. And when I hold the control key, it doesn't stretch it. But it's not making the whole, I guess I can't make the page any bigger itself. I could make individual things bigger. So this is, when you scan, this is my copy, and I scanned it, and then I realized if you go in and look real close here, you can see that this is the front of this piece because you can see the caps from this side where the picot is. I have had patterns where I've gone to tat them and it's like something's not matching what I'm trying to tat. And they had the piece, you have, just like you'll put a piece of paper down to scan that has the print on the one side, and you have to put the print side down facing the scanner because it takes the picture, it scans from the bottom. So you want to make sure that your tatting pieces are the right side is facing down. So if you're taking that picture to put it on a pattern, it matches your instructions. So that's something to think about. And it's easier if you're just, I wonder if this one, let me use my Z zoom again. Now this one you can see, actually, I do have this one backwards on something that's even around. Somebody probably will not even notice it if it's a symmetrical pattern. But in some things, it will make a difference. But you can see where my picot is right here. I'm not seeing the cap. Well, technically I can see the cap, but it's not in place because this is the back side and the cap on the back side has become the picot. That's what happens when you're tatting. Oh, I know why that's the other. I haven't done this front side, back side tatting. Here, the very first row, you can see that is right side up. And this is where I started. And you can see all the caps. In this row, it's almost like maybe it looks like I should be going around and round, and I might have turned that the wrong direction while I was tatting because that's definitely the back side of the chain. And this is the front side of the ring. Oh, that's right. Okay. Excuse me I got to get back into the hang of this. Okay, when you do the ring, most of the time, if people consider the front side, as far as writing instructions, the front side should be the side you start on. This starts with a ring, and this is the front side of the ring. When you get done with the ring, I've reversed my work. I don't know why on this, why I reversed my work. I don't think I would have had to. And so then it's the back side of the chains. But this is the way you'd want to put it. And, you know, if this is the way your instructions are written, um, if this was flipped over, somebody might look at it and think, I'm starting, why does theirs not have the caps showing? And when I start this ring to start the entire piece, I'm seeing the caps. And they'll think, you know, especially a beginner, am I doing something wrong? So really pay attention when you're scanning. I do sometimes use my camera to take pictures of things and pull them up. And remember when you go to pull something in, I pulled this one in and I've got different size of threads on here, so I'm going to be able to, whoops. Oh, now I'm not getting my choices. Which, oh, I want this one right here. Uh-oh, I must have deleted the whole thing. I didn't. You know what? When I go to zoom in, sometimes I hit my delete key instead of zooming in. I've got different, like this is a size 10 thread, so I'm going to measure, diagram like these chains here. Like I said, this one I think is a size 20, and that's a nice one. I'll diagram like this clover here, and the number of stitches and the size of thread. And if I'm going to put clovers in a pattern, I have a nice way to measure those. And also then, if you're drawing, when you're diagramming the whole thing, you may be able to use these if you've got them on a template sheet to copy and paste into the design that you are diagramming. So I want to now go and actually just run through the easiest way to me to make the ring. We've done that before, but there's a couple things I want to talk about. And one of them was what I just talked about widening and or using the uh, control and shift key. So for me, the best way, and I like to zoom right in to do this. If you need to make one from scratch, use the circle tool right here, the circle and ellipse tool, and draw an oval. And I'm going to hold down both the control and shift keys. You can see how it's jumping to different sizes. If I only hold down the control key, I'm not saying, yeah, the control key, it's not jumping as much. Okay, so there's my circle. It is have a fill in it. So I'm going to go down to the bottom left-hand corner. You've not, Sharon, you've not been in classes. Is there a link for it? A link for what? Oh, for downloading the program? It's inkscape.org, O-R-G. I think I have it up here. Here we go. Oops, I got an extra O on it. Inkscape.org. So, and you, then of course you download now. And mine knows I have Windows installed, so it comes up to the Windows. But current version, let's see. If you have Windows, shoot, where's the window? I mean, if you have a Mac, you've been redirected on there to the best download. Okay. Go to all platforms. Okay, here you see if you've got a Mac or Windows. And then you do have to know if your computer is a 64-bit or a 32-bit. And if you don't know that, you find that in your, I'm just going to click here, and I think it's on computer management. Nope. My settings, system settings. Okay, anybody tell me why I'm not, which one I'm not picking right here? I thought sure it was computer management, but that's not giving me, maybe it's system. There we go, it's under system. It, like right here, it tells me I have a 64-bit operating system. So I hope that answers your question, Sharon. I hope that's what you were looking for. Close that window now. Okay, back here, I have a fill and I don't want to fill. So I can click on this white square with the cross mark in it. Now I have nothing because I don't have a stroke set. To get the stroke, I can double click on where it says unset, right down there that it's unset. So I open the fill and stroke. You can also open it with Control F. And I've got it now set on no paint. Stroke, I do want the solid box. And now it is set on a gray color. And one of the things I don't think I mentioned before when you're picking colors is that this little drop down arrow actually gives you this kind of a little color picker. And now I'm in the HSL. I'm going to go into CMYK. I usually use just because it's the printing colors. But I can also go down here and just click on black. Now what did it give me? Gave me a fill, and I want the stroke. That's not going to give me. I've got 100% on black here. I don't know why it's giving me gray. But I guess I'm going to make a gray one tonight. And the stroke style. Now this is set to inches. And I'm just used to using points. And if you want a really thin line, like this is set on 7.2, I will often use 7.5. But if you set it to 0.5, let's see. You get a really, really fine one. Or set it to 1. But when we back out on that, it's going to be awfully pale. Like I said, I tend to go with 0.75 for the stroke size. Now you can always, if you go by some other measurements, millimeters or pixels, it's like 1 pixel. equals what I pick in the points. I'm gonna show you now, because I want to go back to having this a darker color. I'm going to show you the history. And you can find, I've got the history key listed. Let's see if it comes up. No, okay. Edit, under edit, I can find your undo history. Oh, it is here, I'm just not seeing it. Oh, yeah, it did come up. This is from when I opened the document. I deleted a guide, I rotated the page. Here's where I set stroke width and stroke color. So I could say set stroke color. I could go back and double click on this and it'll delete these last four things that I did. So I've double clicked on it, and as you can see, I now have the solid gray one back. But once you do that, you can never go back and get it back again. So most of the time it's best, I shouldn't say most of the time because I use history a lot. But Control Z just to back up one or two or how many you need to. And if you wanted to redo, just holding Control Y will redo you. See there, I'm redoing. Now Control Z and go back to this. So we're back to my initial circle or oval that I made. This is an object. We need, if we're going to do any altering on it, notice all we've got is our top center here and these two markers. Remember, if I want to transform this at all, I am going to have to change it to nodes, and that's where the path comes in. Path, I want to make this object into a path. Paths always have nodes. And if I take click on N, I get my node key. Now I've got this bottom one here. We have two different ways we can make this into a point, like the shape of a ring. The first way is going to be to use our toolbar up here. But I want to show you, if I use my node tool and I put Alt 1, it pulls out just the right side, not the left. If I do it manually, I'm going to Control Z. So I can click on it to select it and go up to these four right here. The first one is make an angle. And I used to always use that, but I don't anymore, and I'll tell you why. This one is make the selected node smooth. If you've got something jagged, it'll smooth it out more. This, make nodes symmetric. If I click on that, now when I go to pull this out, I get a symmetric. It's going to pull both handles the equidistance out. Which is nice because this way you can go down to a point by going right over the top of the node, and you can see we got a point. But maybe this isn't quite the shape you wanted. So this way, whoops, I don't know if I can get a hold of that right handle. I'll go up and double click again and see if I can get my handles to come out. There we go. So you could get it down so it's maybe still got a little roundness down here. And that might be what you want to use for split rings. Although when you're diagramming a split ring, you also have to put a dotted line down. So if I was going to, oh, first let me finish what I was talking about. If I select this, now it's a symmetrical handles, and I double click on this very first one that creates an angle node, I'll double click on it. It's automatically made it a point, which is fine if you don't want to adjust this at all because there's no handles on it now. Okay. The one thing I often find is I don't like the placement of the widest width being at this point. So I will click on both nodes. I clicked on the first one, I held my shift key, clicked on the second one. I'm going to use my arrow key and move them both up one. Now I've got a much more skinnier teardrop shape. I could also adjust these by hand. And if you wanted to, wherever you want them to be, remember if you go up to the ruler on the top, you can pull it down and make sure you've got them even. And again, if I click on this down here, the bottom node, I can go up to the third one, which is symmetric, and get my handles back. So you can really adjust. You can also pull just the bottom handle down. And again, if you want something symmetrical, you're going to have to match up. I usually do it, eyeball it, but you can use your rulers. Now let's see if I can get this to work. Okay, if I pull it out, it's actually widening the whole thing. And this is using the corner handle from this corner. So that's how we can manipulate it. And I don't even know what I was going to show in the beginning. I practiced it a couple times, but for now, it's not working. So this is how you make the best way to me to make a ring, because you can still, you know, make it shorter and fatter or narrow or pull it out. So are there any questions so far? Let's take this one. One of the things that when it comes to the stroke width, is that if you're enlarging or it or not, um, I thought I'd be better today than I have been before. One of the things, if it's not moving the way you want it to, you're trying to put it somewhere it's not moving right, you want to check out the snap to bar, which is this little half a horseshoe or little half a circle up here on the top. See, it just turned, oh, it turned blue. Wow. This toggles the snapping on and off. This must be one of their new things. It used to be extreme, even when we ended classes, it was extremely to tell if you had the toggle on or off, because on was just a dark black, whereas off was this dark gray. You couldn't tell. I bet, okay, that must be one of the things that some of their testers said, hey, you got a questions yet. Okay. You know, we just can't tell if it's on or off. But if it is on, it's going to want to not always move. See how it's got those, see the red lines going up the right side when I start to move it. It's clicking it to, it's wanting to snap to pre-made items, or it'll snap to guidelines if you have guidelines out. Let me see if you get close to something, see it just snapped it to the edge of the page. Now it'll snap it there. And if I try and move it off just a little, it's harder to move it sometimes. So that's your snap on and off. Oh, where do I want to go next? Let's talk about the difference between clone again. And if I do copy, Control C, and then instead of using copy paste like you might do, I'm going to change this instead of my node tool to my selector tool. So you can see now instead of the nodes, it's just showing the whole thing, the whole selector box. Oh, shoot. What was I saying here? You guys, this is crazy. I thought I'd be better this year. um, oh, the duplicate. If we just would paste it, you can see it just pastes wherever. If after we copy it, okay, if we do duplicate, you can't see that anything's changed, but it's got a duplicate exactly over the top, which is nice. And if I wanted to rotate this one manually, I can go to Object, way down at the bottom, Transform, and it is Shift Control M. T is already being used. So for transform, it's the last letter M. It's the Shift Control M. And that brings up the transformation palette. So you can do things horizontally here and rotate. You can move, scale by percentages, rotate by percentages. You even have choices here that are similar to up here, where it's rotate at 90 degrees or flip it on the horizontal axis, which is top to bottom, or the vertical axis, which is side to side. But if I double click on this, you can see now I've got the rotation handles. If I rotate it, this is rotating it around this center point here. But for tatting, we're usually wanting to rotate. I can just drag this down to the point here. Whoops. I put my hand on my, why am I losing it? Okay, I'm going to copy again, Control C, Control D to duplicate it. And now I'm going to rotate the duplicate. What is it telling me? Oh, let me turn snap off. I wonder if that's my problem. Make sure snap is off. There we go. See, that's the problem with having snap on. It wouldn't do what I wanted it to do manually. So we can rotate it around the bottom point. And I will talk about we'll go over the stamping next week to stamp them. But these are separate individuals. If this was my first one, and if I resize this one doesn't change at all. So let's go back. I'm going to delete this one. I'm going to go Control Copy. And I need my shortcut key because what I want to do is where's right down here, clone, create a clone, which is Alt D. Instead of Control D, for pasting a copy right in this place, we want Alt D, which is create a clone. Now I have the same thing. My clone is on the top, so I'll pull this down, rotate my clone. Now, these are still separate items, but watch what happens if I go to my original one and resize it. It's resized this one too. So if you've made like a daisy or something and you think, oh my gosh, it's not big enough, you can alter one of them, or maybe they're too fat, and they all will change. So that's what's really great about having. Now, if I try and change this one, it's not going to change that one because this isn't the original one. And I am seeing something here that I used to have a problem with and didn't understand. Can you see how, when I rotated this, it's the stroke has changed proportion? It's thin here like it started out, but it's thicker here and it's thicker over here. There is a setting, and I hope I can find it. Oh, this is it. Yes, it's right to the left of the scale is this little downward pointing triangle. If I have, this says scale the stroke width, which means if I'm making this wider, it's also scaling and changing the size of the stroke, which can make it go pretty wonkers like this. When we're diagramming, we want everything to stay the same width. So this time, I'm going to take that back to right this point. I'm going to make sure that scale to stroke width is not on. So now, if I pull this one, it still looks like it still looks to me like it changed. It's not supposed to. Scale rounded corners. I take that off. Whoops. Okay. Now let's see if I'm gonna go back. Make sure both of these, the top two are off. Now let's see if I change the width of this. It's still doing it, and I don't know why. Because it's not supposed to. That's what's supposed to fix it. And maybe when I let go, did it? It still did. Try that yourself and see, because I really do think that is what I needed to do, and I've done it before. I wonder if because it's a duplicate, now that might be it. Okay, I'm going to, okay, it's off. Oops, I'll take it back. So both of them are unchecked. Let's try copy and then Alt D to make a clone. And then again, I'll click once more so I can rotate. I'm going to rotate around. Now let's see what happens. I think it's changing. This one is changing because of the slant it's at. It's not straight up and down, and it's not, I'm going to go up here and click on rotate 90 degrees. Now see, that one stayed the same. I think it's because this is already, and I'm not pulling straight like the width or the height, because now that it's crooked, it's pulling from here, which is not the same as if it was horizontal or vertical. So when you get something like that, the best thing to do is just do something again. But the main thing is that even though it was a clone, I was changing the size of the second one made. And if I want to, yeah, I just want to go back to my regular one. And I want to make this a little, okay, I'm going to go back to my regular one. It's selected. So now I'm going to copy. I'm going to use Alt-D to clone it. I'm going to do the same thing again. Rotate it. Now we're back to, if I change the clone, say make it bigger, this one is bigger too. So I think that's basically it for tonight. We will start diagramming a whole piece and see what comes up with it next week. I don't mean what comes up with it, but I mean, I'll take a design and see what problems we might run into and what we can change. I'll talk again about stamping to make a quick, like a daisy or a wheel or whatever those. Yeah, refresh yourself with practice, Patty. You said that earlier, and that's exactly it, is to refresh yourself with practice. And that's what we're going to do. We'll go through like the stamping to get, and we'll use the path effects again. If you remember path effects down here, which brings up, let me get rid of my transform here, the path effects. And that's the panel that has nothing in it until you have something selected and you click on the plus sign in the lower left side of the panel here. Come up, come up. Maybe I need to go click my little diagram here. Now I'm getting my path effects. And one that we didn't use that I just found and have been practicing with is the, let's see, where'd it go? Offset one. Offset is right here. And if you click offset, you get this little box, and we'll go over what all these mean. But it will, let's see what units, millimeters, offset. I'm going to set it at 4. We can get, now I forgot how exactly it works up here with the things. Oh, maybe it did work. Nope. You can see a blue line in here in this. We can make consecutively larger or smaller objects the exact same size and shape, like concentric shapes. So that's what we'll look at next week. Oops. So just start playing this week with it. Problems you run into, like I have, write them down if you don't get them figured out. And we'll start working on diagrams and using different um, tools and path effects to get what we want made. And Sharon, especially since you haven't even worked in this new program and things are going to be moved around, um, anytime, I'm keeping watch of the chat. You can ask a question anytime, and especially there's not that many of us in the class, so I can answer it right away. And whatever it is, even if it seems like something that is should be simple and easy and isn't, um, just go ahead and ask the question, because a lot of times even the simple things and are the things that maybe you need to be refreshed a little, or and you just can't remember it. And so usually in a class, um, there's usually somebody else thinking the same thing and thinking, that's a stupid question, I shouldn't ask it. But go ahead and please ask. All questions are welcome, because all of us have times, and I'm a good example of it, where we've done things before, but it's just not working now. I will practice that offset again. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to use it tonight. So, but I thought it was might have been a fun thing to show you. So, any questions at all now? And we'll just start diagramming and next week, and we'll see what problems we come up with, and hopefully I'll be much more practiced again. So that's all for now, everyone, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye for tonight. Jeez. Okay.